Well, hello everybody and good morning. We are in Portsdown, technically Portsmouth, but Portsdown here above us. And I'm here to show you Miss Candy's cave. Technically Miss Candy's pit as well. Find out more about this fascinating piece of history. I'm not joking. This is a story that you're not going to want to miss on this one. Very cool. Come on. Well, welcome back everybody. Thank you for staying along with me. We're in Candy's pit, Miss Candy's cave, and unfortunately I'm literally in the sun no matter what I do. I might be right here. Beautiful chalk cave inside a pit. Now, what's a geocache? We'll look at that in a minute. We're just above, looking down into Portsmouth. Obviously, the forts are literally on behind me, obviously on Portsdown. And this is one of these places that I'm sure a lot of you probably seen videos on, so I apologise for that. But obviously, this is a history channel. And I want to give you the real interesting history of this because it sort of went through a couple of phases. So, although it's just a cave, it actually is probably one of the most interesting caves you can find in terms of relevance of history. So, Miss Candy, let's talk about this. I'm just going to show you how amazing this is whilst we're doing this. Really, there's a couple of stories that go with Miss Candy and her cave and the pit. Probably the most well known is the fact that really the origin was that actually the cave itself was actually made from prisoners of war that were stationed at Porchester Castle, or literally they were quartered there. And it's interesting how they reckon that they probably would have stayed here again. We've seen this actually at Dover, where Dover's got some obviously caves which we've seen that would have been Napoleonic potentially in date and would have held prisoners of war. But the notion was that Miss Candy, who apparently had used this as a storeroom for fruit, and after 1930, the next tenants used it as a coal store and motorbike shed. The origin of Miss Candy, though, I think really came about by the note that there's either two stories. So one story was that a tramp turned up at the tea shop, which was situated literally above us, and one day, accompanied by a brown bear cub, the bear remained here, and as it grew up, it learnt to juggle and dance, and that was known as Candy, and it lived here for so long that the pit was eventually named after it. That's one story. It lived so long that actually, in fact, it outlasted the tea shop and was fed by troops during World War One. But probably the most notable one was that there was a woman who was called Miss Candy, and she lived in a cottage above the pit here where we're at, and this like, you know, it's I'm trying to get a light. I do apologise. This is why I'm trying to sort of do this in a bit of a weird way. There we go. Oh, blimey, it's a bit unusual. Battling against the light today. Yeah, no, it's the other story. The Miss Candy was a woman who owned a cottage which is not there anymore, obviously now. The pub still remains, which is the George above us. It's probably one of the last remnants, actually, apart from obviously the forts are here. A lot has been rejiggled and rechanged and redeveloped on around this area in Portsmouth, and I'm sure a lot of you who are local enough to know that would be the same. However, the other interesting story, which is pertaining really to the reason why I wanted to do this video and swing around, is that during World War II, what happened was that the famous, and it is actually really well famous for most explorers and history buffs alike in Portsmouth, which is literally next doors, is a huge underground World War II air raid shelter system, really, because it's quite big. That's obviously by the by, because that's been well documented and that's been well known about. And obviously in Portsmouth, for example, we know that there are loads and loads of air raid shelters still to be undiscovered. We know that, actually. That's sort of one of these things, that there are a lot that have not been fully documented, but people know about. But let's just talk about what we do know in terms of relevance in modernisation sort of terms, in terms of what most people would recognise. We know that the main air raid shelter most people know is literally there. I could point my finger at it, it's pretty much just around the corner. But what relevance is it to this pit? Well, the idea was that during World War II, there was a family who'd occupied this cave, and it was sort of their own little plot, should we just sort of say. And what happened was, if the air raid shelter, for whatever reason, had become overflowed, or they just didn't allow people in for whatever reason, then some people would actually be known to come into this cave, and actually also use it as a shelter. So what you've got to imagine is actually during World War II, and this is factually true on this, because like we said before, Candy's Pit, the folklore either with the bear and stuff, we know that it said during World War II that the tenants erected a wooden shed inside the cave, and then it fitted it out with some home comforts, including lighting and cooking facilities. And obviously we know the shelter over there, which was named London Road Shelter. It was then a few hundred yards away, which we know, like we've just spoken about. It became thought, it said sometimes it would experience gate crashes. Most had to be turned away, but one couple who took pity installed themselves on deck chairs outside the shed, but still in the cave. And later they erected a tent over the deck chairs and spent every night for the next 3 years asleep under it. So there you go. I had to read that from a source. So obviously I wasn't talking, I know my history on it and I know my knowledge from it, but I needed to read that just to clarify. Like I said, I'm always trying to be as transparent as possible on this channel, but I just felt actually it was easy just to sort of read that, just so you sort of get a better dimension of like what it's about really. So yeah, World War II shelter, a cave that got turned into a World War II air raid shelter. Like I said, you can imagine the lighting and the decking. Obviously, there's nothing there that was remnant. Oh, dearie me, this light's doing me in. There's nothing here to sort of symbolise that any of that is still remnant here. There's a few little carvings and stuff. Obviously, it looks like there's a little sort of seat there, but I think to put that back into that time scale is debatable. Doesn't really matter. But for all intents and purposes, everybody, this is a wonderful piece of history where a cave served as a World War II air raid shelter. Not the first story you're ever going to hear on that, and obviously if you're frequent to my channel, you would know that actually we've sort of explored many a cave that got repurposed. But yeah, it's just nice to come down here and do it, to be honest with you. You know, I was in the area, I thought to myself, do you know what, I haven't recorded this one for the channel. I didn't really want to sort of, it was difficult what to do, so I thought if I do a history lesson, is what most of you are accompanied by, it's too small to do a history lesson on it. So I've got a bit of source material, and obviously like I said, I've just sort of read it out to you via doing that, because it's just a little bit easier, to be honest with you. But the history is wonderful, isn't it? And then this is what I was going to show you as well, everybody. So there's a geocache sort of site here as well, apparently. That's what I was reading. It says, congratulations, you found it, intentionally or not. Well, it's hidden inside this container. I don't really want to move anything. I'm assuming, well, it'd be nice if it, can I? No, it's not there. So it must be somewhere here. But, unfortunately, well, not fortunately, I suppose it's quite common. There's been barbecues, all manner of stuff that's happened in here, and probably has happened in here. Should we just sort of say, post its World War II history. Interesting that there is a hurricane there as well. There you go. Hurricane fireworks. But yeah, nice piece of history. Debatable, like I said, the fact that it's so interesting, because like we said before, you know, if you go to Dover and if you go to the small caves that are sort of situated, you've seen it on my channel, we spoke about it. Oh dear, this light, I do apologise. Napoleonic POWs potentially carving out for whatever reason. And there was a few there as well. On this occasion, this is just one solitary one. But yeah, I like it. Like I said, not much to it. It is a cave after all. And like I said, I know full well, without even looking, I know that probably 1 million people have probably done this one and done photos on it and done everything on it. But obviously I haven't on my channel. I thought I'd just do that and share with you the interesting knowledge about it. And like I said, Miss Candy. What was Miss Candy? Was Miss Candy a bear? Or was Miss Candy the woman who owned the cottage above us? Which like I said, we do know that if you look at old photos, you can actually see some of the imagery of where like I said, it's bizarre now because it's not there anymore, but actually the fact that there was, oh dearie me, there was some cottages and houses above us, and obviously the pub's really the last thing that remains in that, like I said before. So, yeah, there we go. Brilliant. And I know that Portsmouth has got many, many more secrets to reveal, and many more adventures await me in Portsmouth. But for now, Candy's Pit is a wonderful little treat for us. And as I sort of said before, it's not always about the size of places. It's about the history and the stories that they tell. And sometimes, as I've always said before, sometimes the smallest places are normally the best ones for history. And I think actually Candy's Pit's quite a nice one because it sort of has a little bit of a different scope on it. And you can imagine, like I said, in its World War II heyday, there would have been some wooden trellising and stuff like that, and some lighting, and like I said, stoves, and a couple of... I mean, you could generously fit like a few families in there. And then obviously the London Road Shelter, which is just to our right here, if people didn't know about that, it's literally just down there. Yeah, literally around the corner. Well, I say round the corner, it's not even round the corner, it's right there. But there you go. Anyway, thought I'd show you that. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Any immortal words of Phoenix history? Thank you so much for coming along with me. I really hope you enjoyed this wonderful video. I'm so sorry for the fact that for once I genuinely had to read I had to read parts of the history off to you. Normally I would be quite sort of like confident in just sort of doing it, but actually I felt that the way that it was read out, I think actually probably suited it. So hopefully you can appreciate that for a change. Sometimes I get a bit nervous about that. I sort of think to myself, oh God, like I can memorise so much stuff, and then I get, as you know before, I get a bit panicky and I'm like, oh. So yeah, luckily I had the bit of source material to sort of hand to really give you that extra bit of detail, which hopefully you really appreciated. So there you go. Right. Look at me. Hi. Any more words of Phoenix history? Thank you so much for coming along with me. I really hope you enjoyed Candy's Pit, the former cave that got turned into an air raid shelter. That's what we're going to look at it as. Take care, everybody. Much love to all of you out there. And of course, I will see you all very soon. Feel free to spread the word of the channel. It really goes a long way. Obviously, like I said, it gives me a lot of confidence and motivation to keep doing what I'm doing. And hopefully it brings you some joy and something just to just sort of keep your mind distracted for a little bit. And I'm sure this won't be the first and last time that I said that I will be, definitely wasn't the first time I visited Portsmouth, but it definitely won't be the last either. Take care, everybody. You ready? I think you are. Kapow. See ya.